assuming everyone else is back in the office or just too shy to let us know that they're working from home. And so I'm assuming that the return to the office, some of us have been back in the office for a while, and then some of us are just returning to the office. I think, Ben, you mentioned when we were putting this together that you've recently got back in the office and are somewhat excited about that.
Yeah, oh, well, up here in Brisbane, we've been in the office since probably August last year, but our other offices down in Sydney, they're just sort of coming out of lockdown and getting back into it. So, and they're all super pumped after about 4 months lockdown.
Okay, and I see my colleague Simon, who's in our Shanghai office, on the line. And I know Simon and I have been in the office basically since March of 2020, but we have offices in other countries, and they've been going in and out of lockdown. And so we've been working with them in different manners. So I think maybe just to open up the conversation before we jump into some of these topics, is there anything that, anyone wants to talk about some of the pressing issues or most concerning topics they've experienced in working remotely or working in a hybrid related team?
Yeah. Of course, Kyle, like I've already, mentioned that it's one of the relevant topics of today's time where, the whole world is actually, was adopting to the new normal. Now it has already adopted somewhere to the new normal. So, there are pros and cons, I would say. At the end of the day, you cannot say that it's an entirely an ideal scenario, nor you can say that it's not at all, it's a complete waste. So it has its own pros and cons. Now the concern here is that the purpose at the end of the day of the of every organization, of every working environment should get served. So even if you're working remotely, but if at the end of the day the clients are happy, the deliverables are met on the stipulated deadlines, and the other dynamics like the morale of the employees, which is very important, productivity, appreciating their personal time, appreciating that thin line between the office hours and the personal hours, is being appreciated by the employer in turn. So I don't think there is actually any issue which can actually hamper the growth of the organization and the employee from I'm talking from both the sides right now. I have noticed many organizations have been of late organizing virtual, or they are taking on they're taking their employees on a break, on a on a trip, or they are organizing an event at somewhere in the outskirts of the city, just to give them a kind of a breather, I would say, to to come and have a good time with their employers, gel with their colleagues, gel with their bosses, gel with the clients. Because as a human psychology, a personal touch is always superior than a virtual touch. But we have to adapt to the technologies. It's a technological era. We have to adapt to the technologies. We have to adapt to the new times, wherein actually the time is the most valuable resource that anybody has right now, and the greatest gift that you can give someone is your time only, and not anyone else, because everyone is well off with the other things at the moment. So I would say again, organizations have appreciated this big time, and the strategies which they are using, like organizing the functions for the employees, developing a team culture. Even in my organization, per se, I'll take my own example. What we are doing is we do organize periodical meetings wherein everybody from the firm joins in that meeting, and all informal talks happen. So they just kind of they give you a sense of belongingness somewhere to the organization. you are working in a team. Let's say I work in advisory. There is some other person who is working in the compliance division, or there's some other person who is working in the outsourcing division. So they are all within their team. They're all well coordinated. But when we, go to office, when there is a physical setup, you meet people in the cafeteria. It does not matter whether person belongs to your team or not. So you kind of, exchange your thoughts there, and you kind of, tend to develop relations. So it is very important for a social well-being of every human being. So our organization, do meetings wherein all the members of the firm come. They do informal talks. They all aim at developing a cohesive and a work culture which is actually driven by the philosophy of team working at the end of the day. So I would say, to sum up, what I'm saying since last few minutes, is like, we have to adapt to this, but in a balanced way, so that the employees and the organization at the end of the day are benefited mutually, and the growth and the the upside journey which everybody forecasts for himself or for the organization is parallel to each other. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So I have a quick follow-up question on that. I mean, you mentioned potentially getting together outside of the office and some remote offsite meeting. But you had also mentioned, I guess this is to facilitate kind of colleagues communicating informally outside of set meetings or things like that. Is there anything else you're doing to kind of facilitate this informal communication during this time?
So we do these kind of town halls and virtual meetings, happy hours, wherein every Friday night, once a month, every Friday night, let's say every Friday evening, people connect with each other, wherein the senior leadership also participates, and they inquire about the well-being of each other. So that, as of now, we're doing these things only, but there's always a scope of iteration and improvement. There is always a scope on looking beyond what you're doing right now, and doing good for yourself and the employees as well. As far as the technological front, I would add on to this thing, because this also gets linked with the technology aspects. So as long as the technology thing is concerned, because this era is known as the technological era. So the technology part is, we are using softwares like everybody, like everyone, Outlook, Microsoft Teams, other SaaS, software as a service utilities provided by them, and web browsing, and another VPN. Our IT support has actually increased in this remote working. Another thing which bothers employees a lot, including myself, is the IT support, is the information technology support as and when needed. So our organization has actually appreciated this point quite well. And I think to foster remote working and to reduce the costs significantly, wherein the reduced costs can be used somewhere else for the betterment, is the strong IT support which should be given to the employees, not just to handful of people in the organization. Strong IT support and the strong the framework should be designed in such a way that even an entry level employee, whenever he gets any issue with his laptop, I'm talking about a very basic point over here, gets any issue with his laptop, it gets resolved then and there within 4 hours. It should be a TAT for that. And for that, strong IT support is very crucial. And our organization has actually done some tremendous work here, that whenever an IT support is needed, we just need to raise a ticket on the mail to the IT support help desk. There is a simple email ID of an IT support help desk. You just send a mail to them, and in return, the auto-generated mail gets generated that will resolve your query. We have taken a note of your query and will resolve this within 4 hours or let's say 6 hours, depending on the nature of the query, or sometimes even a couple of hours. Also, as on the other things that that we are doing to actually keep the employees well pumped up at the end of the day, because remote working tends to make you lethargic also. There, like I've said, there are pros and cons to everything. Remote working tends to make you kind of let back and chilled out, because you yourself kind of think that suppose you have a deliverable at the end of the day, but you think you can complete it in another second half or a first half, so you are at your discretion to do that. You have that discretion in the physical mode as well, but sometimes we the proper demarcation has to be done from the personal angle and from the professional angle. So I like it's very common thing, timesheets are there. So at the end of every Friday, or ideally it should be filled on a daily basis. So at the end of every Friday, like I'm in advisory, wherein we charge most of the clients on the hourly basis. So we prepare timesheets on every Friday. I make sure that I do it on a daily basis. So whatever we do in that the office hours, we we create the client name in the software, and then we create the job. Then we mention the nature of the job which we are doing. Supposedly, if we are simple doing an advisory on some foreign remittance which is going outside India, let's say, if any company wants to repatriate some amount of USD or some amount of other foreign currency to any other country, let's say Australia. So, there has to be a proper, withholding analysis under the domestic tax laws of India and the DTAA entered between the India and Australia. So we do kind of take these notes and then we put it in the software. We mention the date there on which we have worked upon this assignment on the client, and then we put in the number of hours there, and then at the end of the month the timesheet of the employees gets approved, and they are made sure that they do not put in any line item on Sunday, because an organization as a firm, the Sunday should be Sunday for every employee at the end of the day. So it has to be ensured that no punch-in should be there on the timesheet, because it's a time of day. But as there are some urgent assignments or deliverables, you have to do that, but it's not quite often. So these are some of the things, Kyle, which we are doing at present. And I would be happy to hear from your side what is happening at your end, or any of your network groups, or anyone, Ben, and other distinguished people on the discussion right now.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to hear the example you gave, the profit repatriation example. It, I guess, suggests your clients are not struggling too much during this period. But yeah, so I think the IT support is really critical here. From what I've heard from some other LEA firms, they've scaled up their IT budget a little bit. One, to increase their IT support and their staff, but also to potentially purchase IT equipment, say like additional monitors or other items for employees that are working at home. And I guess the policy, I haven't really heard about the policy for how they're treating that that hardware and that equipment that's been purchased during remote work, as far as when those employees are returning back to the office, if they're requiring employees to return those, or if they're letting employees keep those at home in case they do have to do remote work again. But that's something I've heard from a number of firms. I know we've had a lot of people in the office continually throughout the pandemic. So I think we've been fortunate enough that we haven't had to do that too much, but I know we have had to do it in limited circumstances. As far as the IT support, I would say, yeah, we from our side, we've definitely increased our IT staff, which has actually been good as a firm. It was something that we've been looking at doing for some time now. We have offices, we have 13 offices in China, and then offices in India as well, and across Southeast Asia. So we wanted to get additional IT support in some of our smaller offices for some time now. And I think during the pandemic, it gave us the impetus to do that and move forward with some of those new hires. Something else I would note on the IT side is we've actually, several years ago, we've taken part of our in-house IT team and repurposed them for client use. So we outsource a lot of our in-house IT people to serve clients. So we have specialized teams within our IT services team, such as systems teams or that just can provide IT service help desk support. And we've really seen this take off over the course of the pandemic, say the last year and a half, 2 years, as clients are looking to, are, as you said, needing additional IT support. So I think it's not just from you know, the CPA side, but yeah, for all industries. And I think that's also been something that was an unexpected benefit for us in being able to grow what was previously a somewhat small service line within the company that we maybe started 6 or 7 years ago, and actually grow it into quite a sizable service line for us. So that was kind of an unintended upside that we saw. So I think not only, yeah, we talk about some of the difficulties in work in this new environment, but I think from our side, it's also presented some opportunities which have been pleasantly surprising. And just while I wrap that up, I guess you see these questions coming up on your screen, as Marikar mentioned. If you are taking this for CPE credits, you'll need to answer these questions. So yeah, thanks.
Even I think the role of HRs has also kind of undergone a radical change due to remote working.
Yeah, I think that's true. So here in China, we've been in the office for some time now. So we haven't seen in our China offices, we haven't seen the effect of kind of staff turnover and remote working. But I know that's been a big issue for definitely a lot of firms in the US that I've talked to within the LEA network. And I know it's been different for some of our different offices. So some of our offices that have gone on to certain lockdown phases and have had to work remotely, such as our Vietnam offices and our India offices, we've seen more turnover than usual. I think there's varying degrees of why this is happening, but and obviously we haven't talked about it extensively with some of the staff that we've lost, but from some of the other firms that I've talked to within the LEA network, some things they've noted is one, it's just a more competitive work environment now that things are moved online and don't require in-office support. They're actually competing with firms, not just within their city, but firms outside of their city. So CPA firms that normally wouldn't be targeting their employees or competing with them on the HR front are now targeting their employees and competing on the HR front. And something I've heard in some limited circumstances is that some firms are concerned that some of their staff may be moving to doing, say, side projects that may limit their work contributions, or they're concerned that there's some side projects that they have built up while working remotely, because obviously they have a little bit more freedom, and some of those employees have actually exited the firm and started doing their own things. For employees that we've had as far as turnover, I think it's just been a more competitive work environment given various factors. But yeah, I think it's really kind of played into what we've seen is really a more competitive work environment developing across a number of our offices, and I've heard that from other firms. So from our perspective, we've really had to be more competitive in our recruitment. That's not just compensation, but Also looking to attract talent via building up a corporate brand, making sure we're attracting the right talent and building kind of a brand internally, not just the brand externally for client promotions, but a brand internally to attract and also retain employees.
What kind of things, Kyle, are you looking at doing for building the brand internally? Is that sort of like greater training, greater like more, was it like solidified career progression? Like what does that look like?
Yeah, so I think there's a few different things. There's some training, yeah, and I think we've also had to look into our KPIs and how we're not only tracking our employees, but looking to provide them kind of better paths about career progression, as you mentioned. So being pretty clear about not only what the expectations are, but what their opportunities are as far as within the firm. That would be more on the internal side. On the external side for attracting talent, we've actually had to bring in our marketing team to work with our HR team to kind of put together videos and other materials about, you know, our firm values and things we do as a firm to support employees. I know we've also had looked at, as Yeeshu mentioned earlier, we've looked at kind of building out additional kind of internal activities for team building. So I know a number of our offices have kind of increased the offsite activities that they've been doing as far as team building. We've also branched out into some other activities. I see my colleague Simon on the line here, and I would give an example of something that he's recently done. And I think he's put together a soccer team or a football team in one of our offices that's competing, and I know that's kind of helped out in building the team culture within the office, but also within that soccer team there as well.
Are you winning many games, Simon?
Actually, it started out as a business development thing because we compete in a league where there are a lot of potential clients, but turned out that it is very well received within the firm and actually serves for internal marketing as well. And so we think of putting it on our marketing channel for the attracting talents as well. So pushing it a little bit through our, we use WeChat here in China, pushing it a little bit, not just for the business development, but for the talent attraction and retention. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think the games have started. So Ben, he wasn't purposely avoiding your question because we have a bad team.
We are in the hot phase now. It's actually for a tournament. It's 3 more weeks to go.
Okay. So if it makes it into our social media channel, I think the team did well. If it didn't, then maybe there's some questions about how well they performed.
I'll follow up with you, Simon. I'll be checking in.
Yes, and if it doesn't work out well, we just repeat it next year, and at some point it will work out.
No, but I think it's a great marketing approach. So hey, keep up the good work and just keep us posted. I'll be happy to connect you with our marketing rep if this moves forward. So it's a great approach.
Exactly.
So, just to add over here, like social media has also, assumed its own importance after March 20. It was already there. It was already there. It was already on the upside. But the 2020 graph and the engagements which has actually happened on the social media front, whether you talk about LinkedIn, Facebook, websites of LEA, other alliances, it has grown multifolds. Social media, I think, is another area wherein you have to be very, from the firm's angle, as far as the marketing is concerned, have to be very diligent because it can do wonders, and it can go on the other side as well. It's a very sensitive kind of a balance, I think. It's in my opinion. If someone has a different view, I would be happy to hear. But I think social media is something which is convenient to use as of now, but quite sensitive and very very carefully to be handled from the marketing side of a firm or a company, I would say, or of an organization. So what do you think, like any one of you, on this?
I think like we keep our like LinkedIn and there's a couple of other channels. We keep that like super professional and we're posting, you know, like articles that are relevant to the time. But our Facebook and Instagram's more casual posting. So, you know, out and about photos and stuff, because I guess that's where like future candidates and stuff tend to look if they're going, oh, what's prosperity about? They'll check out the Facebook page and like they're probably not going to click on all the articles. They're going to see like, oh, they're going out for lunch or they're, you know, playing soccer or doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, from our firm, our channels are a little bit mixed. I think, yeah, our LinkedIn channel is very professional, but some of the other channels are a little bit more casual and as far as looking at promoting or I shouldn't say promoting, I should say attracting talent. But actually, yeah, I mean, yes, probably some of the other channels other than LinkedIn is where we're using to kind of promote a little bit more about the firm culture, and then LinkedIn is a little bit more professional and based on knowledge sharing. I think I would also agree with your comment that social media has taken on a greater role, not only for attracting not only attracting talent or trying to show our firm's culture, but I think during this time also the business development process for a lot of firms have changed, right? We're not attending in-person meetings or conferences anymore. So from our firm, we've really had to make sure that we're broadcasting a lot more. So getting content out into social media channels, but also stepping up the amount of kind of webinars and things that we're doing as far as broadcasting and sharing knowledge to go after clients. So I think that's been really important. And it's been a learning process. I mean, because we're now doing a lot more online events than we previously had done. So it's been a learning process to figure out how to promote those via social media channels and things of that nature. But not only the promotion of those, but also, you know, what are we doing with that data afterwards? So that's very top of the funnel data, right? But, you know, how are we processing that and actually turning those leads into clients? So that's been really a process. I think we had a robust marketing team before, and we were quite active as far as content that we develop and webinars that we had, but that's probably escalated over the past year and a half. And we've probably doubled the amount of webinars that we do. And that's been great for getting in those top of the funnel leads, but really it's been a process internally about how do we manage those additional leads and get them to a stage where they're warmer leads and we can ultimately convert them into clients. So I think that's been something that's been a bit of a change for our firm as well. Is this something that other firms have been experiencing, or maybe those of us on the line today try and stay out of the marketing channels?
No, I think this has been observed by every firm, I would say. You know, like you said, you doubled the amount of webinars because not being able to attend the conferences. As a result, what any other, you know, medium you can use to reach the potential clients, the eventual partners, or the talent, I would say, or anything else, is through your laptop and the internet connection, and is through this social media at the end of the day. I think I agree to what you have said and the efforts that, you know, your firm has taken to increase the visibility or from the through the virtual mode is being done by every firm, by every organization, because that's the only way left. Somewhere that's the only way left. And I think it will continue and will increase more. Though in India, more than 70% of the population has already got vaccinated. It's one of the populous country in the world, highly populous country in the world, and more than 70% of the population has already got vaccinated. Even for the kids below 18 years, from 4-year age group to 18 years age group, one of the vaccines has recently got an approval. So for the earlier, the people from 18 years to 44, 18 years or more who are getting vaccinated. But now the kids from 4-year to 18 years, the approval has already been received few days back for one vaccine. So I think even though the India or any other country or the population will continue to be vaccinated, on the other side, the virtual meetings, conferences, the social media things will continue to rise, and it's actually the need of the hour. And at the end of the day, I would see it as a hybrid, like say a balanced mix of the physical conferences or the physical mode and the virtual mode. This has come. I don't think this is going anytime sooner. Not the COVID. Obviously, it will go. I hope it goes soon. But I'm talking about the virtual mode. I'm talking about the remote working environment. So I think this is the continued balance would be there from the physical perspective and the virtual perspective. There will be a mix of both, which will be carried on towards the future.
Yeah, I can definitely see some longer term changes that will be going on as far as our BD efforts. So I think we've skewed more towards now a preference for less of a preference for in-person seminars and things like that. Even though here in China, we've been able to do them for about a year now, we're still continuing with a lot more webinars. And I think that's something because we can just get a lot more lead data from that. So that's probably skewed our BD efforts more. And I think that will be a lasting change that we'll see even after the pandemic as far as how we approach the market from different BD activities. I would also say, just the last comment on the BD activities from my side is we've had to be a lot more, even though we're getting a lot more lead data and things like that, I think we've had to be a lot tighter internally about how we're distributing that lead data and also how we're screening that lead data, because we have a lot more lead data now does not mean we have a lot more ready to purchase clients. So we've had to been very tight about how we screen those leads and how we distribute them to make sure that we're not giving our teams internally additional work and following up with leads that may not be necessary for them to follow up with. So I think that's actually been beneficial for our firm, and we previously were a little bit more loose about how we did that. I guess from my side, to kind of throw it out to the group here, I'm wondering how you all have been working to facilitate, I guess, communications within teams, or basically for some of your teams that are back in the office and some of your teams that are outside of the office. Have you just been continuing with meetings as normal on kind of the team level, and then on more of the corporate level, how have you been facilitating kind of the manager level or the higher partner level communications? Have those all been moved online, and are they still as fruitful as they previously were?
think, I guess from our team's perspective, we were lucky in the sense that I guess half our team's here and half our team's in the Philippines. So we're already sort of dispersed to begin with pre-COVID. So we're pretty well set from that regard in the sense that we do like a morning huddle every day. Everyone just gets together on Microsoft Teams or Zoom and just runs through exactly what they're going to do for the day. And then, if there's any blockers anywhere or whatever, and we can all sort of chip in. I guess during COVID, obviously, we had to move some of the internal meetings that we had, like, just in the boardroom and stuff, just onto Zoom. But that was probably the extent of it because it only lasted for a couple of months here. So there was no sort of monumental shift from our end.
See, here in Bangalore, I am from Bangalore, India, KSIR and Company. We have had some very good experience on these webinars in the past 1.5 years. Our Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, it has a Bangalore chapter which conducts a lot of seminar, which always used to be physical all along. And we have another study group, SIG group in Bangalore, where all the seminars used to be on a physical basis. And almost twice a week. From Institute, it used to be about 3 seminars. Post-COVID, IG group, and most of them have been webinars, and attendance has been excellent. We have been able to get some of the best faculties from all over India as well as from abroad for these seminars. And the discussions have been of a very, very high quality. So that has probably been a very big plus of COVID as far as the learning process is concerned. And similarly, within our office also, we have experienced that we have mainly audit division and taxation division. Earlier, taxation from past 16 months, we have almost 99% of the taxation was this year that is we always remotely and 70-80% by physical. But during 2020 and 2021, it has completely reversed. 70-80% of the work is remotely done, and only 20-30% work is done physically. Because in audit, there are some challenges where 100% remote is not practically possible. In the sense where certain important documents, agreements have to be verified, stocks have been verified, because all the clients were not having the IT facility or tech facility where they could physically show, who could show the stock through a computer or a remote tool. But there have been some clients who have been able to do that. There we have also done the physical verification of stocks also remotely. And we were hardly closed for about 20, and in 2021, our office was hardly closed for about 6 weeks. But we have made sure that post-March 2020, we have stopped the visit of outsiders almost entirely. There are hardly emergency cases of about 5% or so where we allow outside people to come into our office. Otherwise, it's exclusively our staff alone. And many of the staffs during 2020, it was a learning experience where we tried out various methodology of 100% remote working from home, and giving alternate weeks working, and then within the weeks making 2 or 3 teams and allowing them to come to office by group. And ultimately we have come to a conclusion where it is possible. I mean, there is a quality issue, as the issue was also mentioning, because the time sheets have to be maintained for doing the work. But one good thing which we observed is, since we already have a data of the past years where we know a particular client, how much time it will take for an audit or a taxation work. And when we compared it with the current data, we could identify wherever there is a substantial variance of more than about 5 to 10%. We went into the details and we found out what was the reason, whether it was on account of increased transactions on the side of the client, or was it because of the lack of number of hours which have been put in by the team. And we have been fairly able to reach a stage where given an opportunity going forward, we will be able to do almost percent of the audit work also.
Sanjay, a quick question. You mentioned, but I think a number of us that are on the call today are from the advisory side. So we probably haven't commented on the on-site work too much, but your switch from doing about 80% on-site, 20% remotely, to doing about 80% remotely and 20% on-site. Do you think if the situation changes and you can on-site work again, do you think that's something you'll look to continue? You'll look to continue doing the remote work still because it's more efficient, or what do you see there? Okay, I think we may have lost.
I lost your voice in between. So can you please repeat?
Hi, Sanjay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, yeah, I think there's a bit of a connection issue, but I was asking about I think you were probably referring to audit and some other related on-site work, but you mentioned there was a complete shift from doing previously a majority of the work on-site to now doing a majority of the work remotely. Do you think if the situation with your clients changes, would you continue to try to do some of the work remotely? Have you found that to be more efficient from a work or cost perspective? And is it something you would look to continue even if the situation changes?
Yes, as I mentioned, it was almost 80% of the work on site, and now we have moved to 99% remote. The factors which have affected is even the tax revenue department itself has made not only filing of the returns, including the appellate authorities of the first and second level appeals also are being done on a faceless basis and online basis. That has supported us. And then we realized that most of the data which was required for doing the tax related compliance works are available online, where the physical documentation was not ever necessary, which was being done earlier. So we did have different discussions with clients and make them understand all of this, because as Yeeshu had mentioned in the beginning, here in India, people are more physical. They want to just physically come and meet you, come with the documents physically and hand it over and all that. But it was a learning curve for both them and us, and we made them understand that these documents are not really necessary, because most of the data is picked up from the information which is available online, and there is absolutely no need for this documentation. So I think as far as taxation side is concerned, we are quite confident that going forward, we will be slowly able to turn almost entire work on remote basis, online basis. As far as audit is concerned, as I said, some challenges are there which will take some time for us to, as well as the clients, to sort out in terms of upgrading of the technology, mostly on the client side. And once if that is done, I think even in the audit, except for some important documentation verification related works and physical verification works, we should be able to achieve a target of about 9% being online and remote.
And yeah, so actually, yeah, we've seen that in a number of our offices as well. Not only here in China, but also in our India offices and in Southeast Asia. Has it been something has that been an area where you've been looking to expand your advisory revenue in, advising clients on how they can upgrade their systems, or working with their finance teams to upgrade their systems based on these changes, or these changes from a compliance perspective, or these changes from a information collection perspective?
Yes, certainly, we will be doing that. We are in the process of doing that on a continuous basis since last about 12 months.
Yeah, so same from our firm. I think I mentioned expansion of our IT services, but I think the advisory on working with advisory for clients and working with them on systems configuration from the financial side has really been something we've expanded on as well. So that's also been a pleasant surprise.
Okay.
So I think we're nearing the end of the hour here. Is there anything else that anybody wants to comments anyone wants to share, or questions anyone have? Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone for attending today. It's a little bit of a smaller group than I think we've had in some previous meetings, but I think it was a good discussion. And I think we have some exciting events coming up next month and potentially the month after. So we'll be sharing those with you, and I think we'll have a few more people joining, hopefully. So with that, I'll turn it over to Marikar to close out the event.
So thank you everyone on behalf of LEA again. I'd like to thank everyone, especially Ben, Kyle, Yeeshu, for your time, and Sanjay and Raymond and Simon for being here. Hope you have enjoyed the session, and have a pleasant day ahead, okay? Thank you so much, and see you on our future events as well. Hope you could join us again. Thank you.
Likewise,
Okay,
likewise, Marika. Bye.
Thank you so much.
And Ed, Eli, thanks for staying up late.
Thank you, Eli. Thank you, Ed.
Have a good
morning
day,
to you
everyone.
guys.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Early morning.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay,
Marikar.
bye. Bye. Bye.
Marika, just a quick question. By when the recording will be available?